Isa's story is usually lost when people play Kingdom Hearts, mostly because his story is so subtle. Most people think of him as a background character, just another boss to fill out the roster of Organization 13. A lot of people just call him Saix, but I think he's so much more than that. Isa grew up in the city of Radiant Garden. His best friend growing up was Lee. The two of them were inseparable and very, very close. Axel was the charismatic and emotional one, but Isa was the calculated and aloof one. He was always cleaning up after Lee's messes, but he cared about him a lot. One day, the two of them were sneaking around Ansem's heart research lab, and they made a shocking discovery. Cages, floating crystal hearts in jars, and the sounds of screaming echoed from the basement. There was something horrible happening below that castle, and they needed to stop it. There was some unnamed woman, Subject X. They promised they would come back and free her, but by the time they got in, she was gone. From that moment on, they dedicated themselves to infiltrating the cult known as Organization 13. They did whatever they had to do to worm their way in. The only problem was, the cult moved faster than they thought. Before they knew it, Ansem stabbed them all in their chests. Suddenly, they were broken, weakened husks with no emotion. Nobodies. All the parts of them that were human were stripped away. But they were lied to. If they got close to someone, if they got close to each other, they would start to feel again. Their memories weren't gone. They were still them. Even though Isa and Lee had changed their names, Saix and Axel could feel. They weren't entirely aware of their emotions, but they knew they needed to rise through the ranks while sabotaging the group. Isa became Xemnas' right-hand man. He was given a claymore called Lunatic, and he was merciless with it. He followed every order, so much so that he was the one giving out orders. He was Axel's handler. He would brief him on missions and use his influence to subtly sabotage the rest of the group. Axel was sent out on an important mission. He was sent to Castle Oblivion to weed out the traitors in the organization. But in the process, he managed to damage the organization severely. Their smartest scientist, their strongest fighter, their youngest member, and all the traitors that wanted to take over. One by one, each of them fell. Sora, Riku, and Axel were all tools that Isa used. While they were all fighting each other, Isa began to investigate, to learn Xemnas' secrets. He knew there was something that was being hidden from all of them. But before Saix could enact his plans, he was slain. He was recompleted. His body was back, but he wasn't done. Not soon after, he allowed his old master to possess his heart, to change him from the inside out, to turn him into a nobody again. He was barely human again, and he immediately signed his life away. But this time, he would be their perfect weapon. He would fight against his oldest friend. According to his masters, Axel was a turncoat, and Isa couldn't believe that Lee would go back on his promise, that Lee had forgotten what this was all for. Lee begged him to help him, to fight back against his master, but in the end, Isa accepted his fate. He was defeated. He was always angry and berserk when he fought. He never wanted to win, but he couldn't lose either. He begged Axel to keep his promise, and he was gone. But that wasn't the end. He was finally free. He was human again. And the evil that destroyed his home, stole his freedom, and possessed his soul, it was gone. And he could finally be in Lee's life. He could finally just sit with him, and no longer have to worry about some childhood dream. They had avenged that woman. On the surface, Isa is just another bad guy with a big sword. But if you look deeper, you realize that he's really struggling. He's in too deep, and all he wants is for him and Axel to win. Every decision he makes, every sentence he speaks, is trying to nudge Axel in the right direction. Him and Axel are always butting heads, but you can always tell underneath the surface that they respect each other. Their goal was always to know who this mysterious woman was, and to stop all this madness once and for all. I don't think his story is over at all. There are so many questions unanswered when it comes to the organization, and I think he might have more to tell us. Anyway, I'm Aloni the Bard, and that's what I know about Isa. Thanks for listening. Bye. If you have any theories about who the hell Subject X is, please leave a comment. I have no idea. I have some theories, but I don't think they've actually revealed anything about her. It definitely feels like it's going to be a thing coming up in the next games, so maybe we just don't know. On my other channel, I remade an old video from years ago. I talk about Shovel Knight and how it's the best game I've ever played. It's incredibly inclusive, it's generous, and it's fun as fuck. You should check it out. It's amazing. Bye.